here in front of our witnesses.
Oh god.
I feel like that's a good bet if you really,
I mean, yeah, whatever.
when disc golf was smaller and a lot of these companies didn't have a whole ton of money. So they sponsored the few players that they did sponsor, they really took a big risk on them. They really supported them as much as they could. So I feel like they're,
We are Innova. We are going to sell X amount of discs no matter what. They have the deals with Walmart. They have the deals with Dick's Sporting Goods, Academy Sports and Outdoors. They have the deals where the newest of the new players are probably getting their first starter sets at Dick's, at Walmart, at Academy, at Amazon, at those places. I know when I very first got into disc golf, I went to Dick's Sporting Goods, and the only thing that they had there is Innova. Welcome in, everyone, to another Chain Clankers episode. We've got a super fun show for you guys. Today, we are going to be talking about all these sponsorship moves on the pro side of disc golf. You might be like, Q, what the heck? I don't really follow the pro tour. I don't really care about the pro tour. I don't really care about these people. Well, I think this is an important conversation, A, for the overall growth of disc golf, but also B, all the new discs that you're going to be seeing hitting the market. Are you going to be buying them? Is it worth even buying them? And I think it's just a fun topic to cover. We've had a ton of interviews lately that we've been able to take away so much from. So I think this is a nice change of pace and kind of a mood setter for the rest of 2022, at least on the pro side. So super fun, super excited to talk about all these deals. Let's go ahead and let's bring in our co-host Ratio. How are we doing today, man?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about this. I feel like it's a very exciting time in disc golf. I know last year it was like a huge burst of, I guess, just people. So it was super exciting. So many people coming into the game, stuff happened on ESPN, and people are like, wow, like this year's crazy. Like this is the golden era. And I really do think we're living like the golden era of disc golf. Like this off season is just like the cherry on top for a really, really good season after COVID. And I feel like it just shows that, it's going to be up from here based off all these moves and stuff. And it'll be very interesting to see how this off season dictates future off seasons. I think this might be the last year that we see a lot of these like early break contracts or people jumping around so much or so early. I think companies after this year who didn't have stuff in place, are going to start to notice that players are taking this more seriously, more like a business. It's not more of the buddy buddy system. People have agents now. There's multiple companies, agencies that are player agents. So it's very cool, just from a business standpoint, seeing all this stuff happen. But definitely, I think this year was crazier than what the future will bring.
Yes, I completely agree. And I also think it's critical to understand that, like, if these deals don't work out, 2022 could be the year that actually crashes disc golf, at least on the pro side and company side, right? You've got companies investing millions of dollars into players. If they're not able to get an ROI on that, yeah, are they going to continue to sign players for that much money? So hopefully everything does work out in the end. But yeah, so much fun. And before we really kind of dive deep into all the moves and stuff, if you guys haven't already, if you're listening on Spotify, if you could leave a 5-star rating, we really appreciate it. We understand that not all viewers have that capability, but if you do have that capability on your Spotify, we really would appreciate that. Same thing on Apple Podcasts. Those ratings and reviews really help us not only in the algorithm and in the numbers, but it also helps us know what we can get better at, which is super, super important because a motto we have on the show is we want to be able to look back a year from now and say, wow, we were really bad back then. So that way we're constantly improving. I think that's something that's very critical too. And if you missed a couple of the last episodes, we had Johnny McCrae on and some other members from Team Disc Dot. So definitely go and check it out. Super, super fun. So getting into this, Horatio, how do you want to talk about it, right? We've got so many different deals going on. Do we want to just kind of go down the list? Do we want to talk about some and then go to another? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I guess what we can do just right off the bat is just kind of go off of the major ones that have been announced and that people are waiting on, just real quick to just kind of, and a lot of these, I'm sure you guys have heard of, but we kind of just want to chat, give you guys our opinions, kind of just see what you guys think. So I'll kind of just start off the top here. I mean, I think these are based off of when they were announced, based off the players. And so Drew Gibson extended, year to year, uh, but lifetime contract with Infinite Discs, which is weird because like year to year, but it's a lifetime deal, whatever that means. Kristen Tatar, she was the first one to sign the 4 year 500,000. So now there are two females with a 4 year 500,000. Be very curious to see who will be the first female to break that. Eric Oakley, he went from Dynamic to Infinite. Gavin Rathbun, Discmania to Dynamic on a 1 year. I did not know that. So they just signed him on for 1 year. Niklas Antila, extension, Discmania. Cole Red Allen, he left Discraft, went to Infinite and EV7, which that team has kind of grown. That EV7,
Yeah, I'm very impressed. I kind of want to pick up a Penrose or try those
oh no,
putters now. Yeah.
oh no.
I don't know. What if it's better than the BA3?
Matty O, he went from Prodigy to Westside on a 2 year deal. Greg Barbsby extension. I feel like Innova lost a lot of people, but they extended a lot of the typical, or like a lot of the ones that have been there for a while. So he extended 3 years. Matt Bell, he went from DGA to Thought Space and EV7. So all these next ones are Discraft. They extended at Discraft. So Brad Schick on a 2 year extension, Michael Johansson, 3 year extension, Andrew Fish, 1 year, Andrew Presnell, 1 year. Andrew Marwade, he went from Innova to DGA, which I feel like we didn't see a lot about that one on social media and stuff. Him leaving Innova. So it's on a multi-year, whatever that means. Macy Veladias, she extended from Dynamic 1 year. Erica Stinchcomb, West Side extension. Adam Hammis extension 3 years. That's solid. I was excited about that. I'm a huge Adam Hammis fan. Nicola Castro, early termination from West Side. It's to be decided. We have not heard anything about that one yet. Des Redding, Innova to Mint on a 1 year. Missy Gannon extension, 2 years. Katrina Allen, we're still waiting on that one. Very excited. We'll definitely talk about that one here in a bit. Kevin Jones extension, 4 years. I know that one. I believe they said he signed a NDA, so he could
Oh,
not talk
really?
about. That's one thing that I read. So he couldn't talk about what he signed for, which is very weird.
Wow. That's
Because
terrible for disc golf.
everyone else is announcing, and people, were assuming that had partly maybe to do with why Chris Dickerson left.
Oh, I
But
guarantee.
we'll get into
Guarantee.
that. Valerie Manducano, Innova to Dynamic, 2 year. Ricky Wysocki, Innova to Dynamic, 4 year, 4 million. Mason Ford, Innova to Dynamic, 2 year. Kona Panis, 4 years, Innova to Dynamic. Nate Sexton, early extension, so 2 additional years through 2025. Haley King, Discraft, and we still have not heard about that one yet. Ella Hansen, extension, Discmania. I was really disappointed Discmania didn't sign anyone else. I feel like they're
Yeah.
very elitish. Like they're very picky about who they sign. I guess they probably spent a lot of money this year, but I feel like they also made a lot of money. So Chris Dickerson left Prodigy, still to be decided, and then Casey White an extension. So those are all the major ones, all the big ones.
And then just two more that I want to add on there. Gannon Burr re-signed with Prodigy, and Kyle Klein re-signed with Discmania and was promoted to Sky Team.
Yep. I know there was a bunch of people that got bumped up to the next level, and people that were brought up from like the underground type ones up to another, but yeah, those are the major ones. Where do you want to start with this? What are kind of some thoughts?
That's what's so much fun. Like, where do you even start? Because the signings are just crazy from what we've seen in the past. This is really the first time that we're getting a chance to hear about what the contracts actually are. Shout out to Paulie for making that happen. And I just think what's interesting is when we look back at last year, kind of what all happened there, and I'm pulling it up just so we can kind of talk about them as well. But I want to start with the collapse of Innova. I think this is the most interesting conversation to start with, is that Innova Law is the biggest loser this offseason. And if we're counting it up just right here, there's one. Okay, so we'll say Ricky, Kona, Mason, Valerie. Those are all massive losses. So I'll just talk about those four for right now. There's guys and gals at lower levels that also left, but those four, particularly leaving Innova to go to Dynamic Discs, I think is just a absolute shocker. And Innova has been losing players over the last couple of years. They lost Paul a couple of years ago. They lost James last year. Like I just wonder, why is Innova losing these types of players? And I don't know if I have the exact answer for that. I know I've never been somebody who's been the biggest fanboy of Innova. I don't really throw a lot of Innova. So maybe the plastic is just simply elsewhere. It's better elsewhere. Maybe it's the way that they do things. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I say it probably seems like they're the biggest losers. I don't think that they are losing any sleep at all at night. They're the biggest, as far as market size, biggest hold on the market as far as revenue. I don't think that they're worried at all, and they're probably just trying to play it smart because they still have a solid team. I mean, this is their star team. Jennifer Allen, which we saw a bunch of last year. Greg Barsby, we didn't see a whole lot of, but I mean, he's a world champion. Hopefully we see more of him. Henna Bloomrose, I know she did some really good stuff. She's a big in the finish. So she's a 2021 European disc golf champion, 4-time Finnish champion. Philo Brathwaite, he has a huge following. People love, he has a lot of fans and he still plays solid disc golf. Garrett Gerthy, 4-time United States distance championship. He also has a huge following. He still is able to compete. Calvin Heimberg, I think that hopefully, this is his breakout year. I feel like we saw a ton of Calvin, but he was not able to finish quite a bit. But I feel like one figures it out, I feel like Calvin is going to be the star. I feel like he is going to outdo Ricky in the long run. So I feel like, this is kind of so more of these F1 metaphors or comparisons for you guys. I think that Ricky Wysocki was like the Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh no,
Calvin Heimberg is like the young champion
Lando
that they're
Norris,
breeding.
or is he George Russell?
Max Verstappen.
No,
He's the Max Verstappen.
No
Yeah.
way. If I had to say, I would say Ricky is Lewis, with his titles, and Calvin is George Russell, because he's performed pretty good, but hasn't really pushed through yet. If you don't know what we're talking about in F1, you should go look it up, or just watch Drive to Survive on Netflix. Season 4 is dropping in a couple months anyways. It's such a good show. But
let me
go ahead.
Finish off real quick. So Calvin Heimberg, who I think, he doesn't have any huge, he's won some tournaments, but I think once he breaks out, Calvin is deadly. And then Jeremy Colling, which we don't see a whole lot of him and, in the tournaments, but he has a huge following. He's one of the biggest faces of disc golf. And when he puts out discs, they sell out. So people, like, oh, like he's not winning tournaments anymore, blah, blah. Like he's not as big as Ricky Wysocki or other players. But if he's selling, I don't know how many, I would love to see how many discs sales, in signature discs Ricky Wysocki sold compared to like Jeremy, if they were given like the same amount, because Jeremy's discs sell like crazy. We have Juliana Korver, number 1 rookie of the year, but 5-time world champion. So, I mean, she's still killing it. She's coming back this year. Is probably going to be just as big as any other. And then Evelina Salonen, 3-time Finnish champion. She's like number 1 ranked in the world, right?
Nah, Kristen is.
Kristen is? She's
right
up there,
now,
though. She's like
she's in top 5. Yeah. Top 5, top 3, probably.
Owen Scoggins, who also killed it last year. And then Nate Sexton. So, like, even though, like, they lost, like, some people, Innova is still stacked. Like, you're still going to see Innova every weekend competing, at least in one way or another.
I agree. I think the team is still good. Nate Sexton got 3rd, I want to say, at either USDGC or Worlds, only playing like a 4th of the tour. Like, obviously, Nate Sexton
taking a year off.
Yeah, that's true. But also, I think Nate Sexton is not a weekly contender for victories just because I think there's a difference in like golf style nowadays. And I mean, he says it all the time. I think I agree that Calvin is kind of the dude right now for Innova. He's kind of their best shot at winning USGGC, winning worlds, those kinds of things. And Calvin, I don't exactly remember what the final number was, but I'm pretty sure he went 90 plus percent of the tour last year, finishing inside the top five consecutively before that was broke there near the end. Like the dude is a monster. I just think he needs to take that next step from being a monster to how does he pull off a win or two a year, something like that. How does he get his first major, those kinds of things. Because I think the future is nothing but up for him. I think he's now going to be the face of the destroyer now that Ricky is gone. But it is interesting. I think part of the mass exodus from Innova is, and I could be completely off base. This is literally just my opinion, but I think that they just don't do it like these other companies right now. I think that there is a little bit of what you said earlier of we are Innova, we are going to sell X amount of discs no matter what. They have the deals with Walmart, they have the deals with Dick's Sporting Goods, Academy Sports and Outdoors. They have the deals where the newest of the new players are probably getting their first starter sets at Dick's, at Walmart, at Academy, at Amazon, at those places. I know when I very first got into disc golf, I went to Dick's Sporting Goods, and the only thing that they had there is Innova. The only thing that they still have there is Innova. They'll have a little bit of DD there, but I've never seen any Discmania. I've never seen any Discraft. I've never seen any Prodigy. Like it's mostly 90% Innova. So they have a market that's not even really aware of what's going on the Pro Tour that is going to buy their discs no matter what. Like one of my friends who's kind of getting into disc golf, he doesn't know about the local shops in town that have all the discs there. He went out to Dick's and was able to get discs from there, and they have Innova there. So I think Innova will always have a certain market lock, which means that they don't have to pay players what they could get elsewhere, which is so interesting to me is that they literally have the model of we can re-sign Nate, we can re-sign Jeremy, we can re-sign Philo, we can continue to have Calvin and Garrett and Greg and those and Juliana on, those kind of players. And just based off the disc they have, they're going to be fine. Like the Sexton Firebird in 2022 is probably going to outsell 80% of the other Tour Series discs, if not higher number than that. So they're going to get those sales. So they don't have to pay players the same that they pay. They can pay them whatever they want. They can give them whatever compensation package they want, and it's take it or leave it. You can wear the Innova wings or you can hit the road, Jack. That's kind of my 2 cents.
Yeah. And I think that's something that they've earned. It's not something that, probably was just given to them. They've earned that legacy, that name of having those deals with Walmart, with Dick's. They have Ken Kleinmold, 12-time world champion. Like they are in the stores for a reason. And I think that's why they've been around. Their owner, he has been around. They're probably thinking about it differently. These other companies, they're like, oh, disc golf is exploding. We got to get these big names. We got to do something to compete. Like they're looking as Innova as like the Mercedes, like the big team with a lot of money. These other people, okay, they took one or two names. Like they have, Ricky Wysocki going to Dynamic Discs. That's huge. That's huge for Dynamic. It's more of a gain for a Dynamic than it is a loss for Innova. They're going to notice that gain more than Innova's going to notice that loss. Looking at the 2021 UDisc Power World Rankings, if we went off of the top 10, we went like off if every player that's on the top 10 earned points, for like a team, and then you rank the teams. I mean, the Innova had Ricky Wysocki, Calvin Heimberg, and Nate Sexton in the top 10. So they had 3 players in the top 10. Discraft had Paul Macbeth and Adam Hammis, so 2. And then Discmania had Eagle McMahon, Kyle Klein, and Matty O was with Prodigy. Prodigy. So Prodigy had one, and then Drew Gibson, who's by himself with EV7 and Infinite. So
And Prodigy had
technically,
Chris also.
and Chris Dickerson, yeah, so two. So technically, Innova, based off as a team, they won last year. They were the number one team on average, world rankings. They had the most. If you go off of their players that higher ranked, they technically won. I'll be curious to, but no dynamic discs on there, zero.
Mm-hmm.
So just based off of the fact Ricky being Ricky, dynamic discs should be on there, will be on there next year. So they kind of bought themselves a place at the table with these big names. Chris Dickerson, whoever he goes with, he's gonna be there. So whoever is taking Chris Dickerson, they're buying that spot that he has at this top of the leaderboard. And Innova, they're still gonna be there. Maybe another player picks it up. You could see maybe Garrett Gerthy up there do better this season, or you see I would love to see Barella, have his outbreak. I feel like he has a ton of talent, and once he figures it out, I feel like he's going to be huge also. So yeah, everyone's talking about Innova, blah, blah, blah. Innova's fine. They are going to be okay. I'm more excited for these smaller companies getting these big names and us being able to see, different names out there. But don't worry about Innova. Innova is going to be okay.
It's one of those things also, which like this could be the dark side of this conversation is let's say a scenario in which the Kona and Ricky deal for DD is a massive loss, right? Let's say they don't even come close to getting what they paid them by the time their contract is up. Dynamic just lost a ton of money. And what did Innova lose? Maybe a little bit of market share, if that. Like all these companies spending all this money, if Innova doesn't spend any money and they play the long game and they somehow come out on top, I don't know. Could be pretty interesting. But I think that's enough on Innova. Let's talk about dynamic discs, right? Like you said, they kind of bought that spot at the table. They got Ricky back. Ricky won his 2 world titles with Latitude 64. So I think let's talk about Ricky and Kona together. I think this pairing was a little bit surprising to me. I personally thought it was going to be Cat. I did not think it was going to be Kona. And it's one of those things where
It'd still be Cat.
yes, could still be Cat. Could still be Cat. Who knows? And Chris, bring them both. And Haley King. Might as well bring all 3 of them in. I think the funny meme on Instagram and Twitter now is anytime a player announces that they're leaving, I just see the comment section being like, dang, Dynamic Disc got another player. Just like, it's so funny because I think Dynamic Disc is the winner of the offseason. Mason Ford is a guy that's not really talked about a whole lot at the high level, but Mason Ford, according to the power rankings right now, is 14th in the world. And that's down 3 spots. Like this guy is approaching the top 10. So I really think that this is huge for dynamic discs. I think Ricky's game is going to get even better. Him with a dagger instead of an AVR or a whale or whatever he was putting with at Innova, I think he's going to be even more deadly. And I think this year he's going to really take a chokehold on being the number 1 player in the world.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I feel like they dynamic discs took Ricky on the basis that he is the number 1 ranked in the world. And I mean, this was his season coming back from Lyme's disease, if I'm
this was
not
the
mistaken.
first full season back. Yeah.
So I feel like he had something to prove. And but his attitude is just so awesome. And I feel like this next year, like coming back, he's just going to be so excited. But there's so much potential on this board. Like there's so much people that can win on any given weekend. And it'll just be exciting. I don't think that he is going to have the dominance that he had this last season. Even with, I mean, we saw James Conrad go to MVP and learn new plastic and win, which I firmly believe. And I mean, I'm sorry, but I think every company, they all have the same discs, different names, different plastics. It's all the same stuff. So I don't think professional players at that level, I don't think that they have any more issue than LeBron James going from one team and going to the Lakers and having to learn, it's probably harder for them because there's different dynamic and different players. I feel like they probably have a harder time than a disc golfer has going to all new plastic. Um, there's, you can literally go to websites and be like, what is the discraft version of a destroyer, or what's the MVP version of a T-bird? Like they all have that. It's the same stuff, guys. I'm sorry. And so I don't think that that's going to be an issue for these players switching. One person that I could see having possibly an issue is Kona. I was watching her on a video she did with Eric McCabe, and they were throwing. And I mean, because she's trilogy, she gets the opportunity. I don't know how the deal is broken down if she has to throw a certain percentage of dynamic, but she's still allowed to throw the rest of trilogy. But she was playing or throwing a lot of the trilogy. And so that's three different brands, and each company have like four or five different kind of plastics with different molds. And I mean, like, that's just an insane amount of discs. She's going to have so many options. And I feel like that might be an issue, just having that many options to throw. She's going to take a while to decide what goes in the bag. Hopefully she can figure it out, because yeah, it's going to be very exciting to see.
Yeah, I think that I agree to an extent that it is difficult to kind of go from I can only throw X to I can throw anything I want now. Which, I mean, if you're gonna apply the argument that Kona might struggle with that, I think it's also easy to apply that to Eric Oakley, because he has even more options to be able to choose from. And I was listening to a couple of interviews with both Ricky and Kona, and both of them said that their bags are pretty set right now already, because, these guys have been, ever since the end of the pro tour, really the end of competition, these talks are happening. These moves are happening. These guys and gals have been throwing this new plastic for months already. It's not like they're just now able to throw it. So it's one of those things where they've already kind of been working with it. They maybe have a couple of slots to still fill in their bag, but their bags are pretty full at the moment. And both of them said this. I don't know if they had to say this or what, but both of them had mentioned that because they're represented by dynamic discs, they want to throw more DD and not be, the DD player who throws 30% west side, 50%
Which I hate.
latitude.
I
And
hate that.
then,
That annoys me so much.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think you can use all of them, but like whoever your primary sponsor is, like if I'm sponsored by Westside, I'm probably going to use 75% Westside. And then I'll kind of, if I really like a disc from Latitude or Dynamic, I'll throw it, but I'm gonna mainly, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not in their position, but I think these deals are really interesting. I think the stat that I saw is that Kona has finished inside the top 10 in 73% of her events. So like that's a fantastic number, and she is somebody who genuinely can and probably should be competing for majors and world titles. So super excited to see her over there. I think again, Dynamic Discs is the clear winner. You add Valerie and you add Mason Ford. So you now have two other people who are ancillary pieces and finishing in the top 10, top 15 every single week out on the road. Like this is huge for them. Plus just the remaining team that they have, you add in Gavin Rathbum to Dynamic Discs. Like, I just don't understand how Dynamic Discs takes an L here. I think Eric McCabe is really I don't know, man. That guy must be a magician for getting all these people to come to Dynamic. I think this is huge for them. Big fans of them. So I think the question is, and I'm going to pose it now because they've already dropped some of their signature series or special signing series release discs. Horatio, are you more inclined to buy a signature series disc or one of these new discs for these free agents or movers this offseason than like if they had stayed put?
I am really turned off by signature discs because they're so expensive, and it's like it's money that it's going towards the players, and it sucks because they make them so expensive. So I feel like that turns away a lot of fans that would buy those discs, but instead they're like, man, like I want to buy that, but instead they buy the normal version of it just to save some money. And I'm kind of that way, just because like to me it's just the disc, unless it's a player that I really like supporting. If it's a player that I'm a big fan of, and they put out a signature disc, like I'm buying. I'm a huge Kyle Klein nut. I really like watching him. And when he put out some of his discs, I bought a couple of his. But I never really bought Ricky Wysocki discs, anything like specific. I feel like a lot of stuff was just Ricky Wysocki being at Innova. Kona, I never really bought anything, from Kona. So like, no, personally, I feel like you'll have the big fans that will switch over. Just how people probably when Paul Macbeth went from Innova to Discraft, he took over all his McBeast fans. And so, those people are buying them. So whatever fans and followings Kona and Wysocki have, they're going to transfer over. And I think that's part of the reason why they were purchased is because they have a big following. Kona, yes, she improved a lot this year, but she's nowhere near the top. I mean, she still has a long way to go to, compete with Paige Pierce, Kristen Tatar, Katrina Allen on every single weekend. I'm not talking about having like a good weekend and finishing in the top 10. For the contract that she received, she has got to put out a hot season. And I think that she improved a bunch, and that's part of the reason why she was signed. But I think also a part of the reason she received a big contract is because of her fan base. She has a huge following on social media, on YouTube, on Instagram, and that is worth money. So same with Ricky Wysocki. People love him. He's a likable guy. And you said, dynamic disc, they were the big winner, Eric McCabe being a magician. You throw enough money at people, they're going to come over. They're doing this for a career, and especially if they're young, they're going to go with the big deal. They're going to take care of themselves. They're professional athletes. They have to treat it like a business. They're putting their body, it's a grueling 7-day a week job, basically. I mean, we've interviewed players. So yeah, they need to take what the better deal is. And so if you have a company, throwing that much money out, like who's not going to go and sign? I'm sure there's other players that Dynamic reached out to or hunted and probably turned them down. But Kona and Ricky were the ones they probably got offered the highest, or it was the perfect time for them. And so, yeah, I mean, they were just the ones out there wilding out. And I feel like
Yeah.
we might see more of that.
Yeah, in another interview that I heard with Kona, she said that now what was really interesting was the press conference, the live press conference they had on Tuesday. They asked this question to both Kona and Ricky. Kona had said that she did not have any sort of guaranteed money by Innova. All of her money came from royalties and disc sales and stuff like
Wow.
that, which is crazy to think of. And then for Ricky, he said that, and I don't want to butcher this, so take this with a grain of salt, but I'm pretty sure this is how it went down. Is that he said he cannot talk about it, and there's a lawsuit pending because he got out of his contract early, and so that's all that he could really say about it. So maybe something is going to be, maybe DD is going to have to shell out some more money for it. But something that you had also said that was interesting is that, Kona and Kristen have the same contract, 4-year, $500K. So to me, it's like based on physical play, I think we both can agree Kristen is significantly better than Kona. I mean, right now in the world ranking, Kristen is number 1, Kona's number 9. But then it comes down to what you were talking about is the social media game sells, especially now more than ever, is having that social media following, having that engaged fan base, being able to push more discs, more tournaments, more tournament directors, more growth of disc golf is good, which I think is how Kona was able to get that kind of contract on the same level with Christian Tatar. So yeah, I think that at the end of the day, really good season, off season, I guess, for Trilogy, bad off season for Prodigy, and just kind of moving on down the list here. Like, I think another interesting one that I want to talk about is Kevin Jones and Chris Dickerson. So, Katrina Allen had said she was going to leave, not was going to leave. She said she was leaving. And then Kevin Jones dropped a YouTube video about his future. And honestly, when I first saw it, I thought this was him leaving Prodigy also. But then he said, nah, I'm staying for another 4 years. And then the next day, Chris Dickerson said, I'm gone. And here's what really shocked me. I didn't know this until we started recording, but I looked up last year. I looked up what were the signings last year? Was it really crazy? Chris Dickerson, listen to this ratio. Chris Dickerson last year signed a deal with Prodigy that was going to keep him there for 3 years through 2023. So Chris Dickerson got out of his deal 2 years early to move on after the Kevin Jones announcement. And so Kevin's making bank is the only thing that I can take from this. And again, this is all speculation. We don't have any sources. No one's telling us this. This is just my own 2 cents, is that he saw what Kevin got and said, I can get better elsewhere, and said, I'm gone. Left 2 years early. I don't know. To me, that's just super interesting that he was able to get out of the contract 2 years early. And now he's a free agent. If I'm going to guess, my guess is he ends up at he's not going to go to Innova. All the players that are free agents right now are not going to Innova. They've already released their team roster. So he's probably not going to Dynamic Discs, not going to Prodigy, probably not going to Discmania. I don't think that they would add anyone else really big at this point. So that kind of leaves Discraft and like an open back. So I personally think Chris Dickerson is going to Discraft. Can't confirm or deny that. I don't know. That's just my own 2 cents if I'm doing the math here. So I just think that it's so interesting that, I don't know what happened with Kevin. And then you see Chris literally the next day, and now he's probably going somewhere else. What are your thoughts on that kind of situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's it. And I think it was in an interview or something. Kevin Jones said he had signed an NDA, so he couldn't talk about his deal. And so I'm sure, it's not one of these big ones, 4 million, 4 years or whatever. I'm sure it's not quite there yet. Especially, I don't think Prodigy is that big. So they probably can't dish out stuff like that. But I'm sure it's good. I'm sure he's taken care of, especially it being a 4 year. So yeah, I'm sure that had something to do with Chris Dickerson leaving, especially because he had a great season and he's constantly out there. I feel like he definitely had a better season than because he's power ranked number 4, and Kevin Jones isn't on the top 10. He
Kevin's like
is
11th, I think.
okay, so he 12. So he moved down 2 spots, and Chris Dickerson moved up 1 spot. So meaning he was in 5th last year. So he's up there. So he's playing consistently better than Kevin Jones. And yeah, I would also be upset, if I was not financially, paid better, which I feel like he probably would have preferred. I feel like he liked Prodigy. So I like your, Discraft, me just being a Discraft fan. I like that. That's so exciting because I love Chris Dickerson. Like he's just a cool dude, like super chill. And from everyone that talks about him, he's just like one of the nicest guys. And he's so good. Like he is really, really good. So just him to Discraft, like that's insane. Because talking about teams and being stacked, Discraft, like they're still gonna have Paige Pierce, Paul Macbeth, Willibari, which we didn't see him do a whole lot last year, but he was still competing. Hopefully this year we see a lot more of him. Adam Hammis, Tim Barham, we didn't see a whole lot of him, but Ezra, hopefully this year, Ezra can figure it out. I was so excited when we came out in Vegas, and man, I was like,
Yeah.
dude, it's gonna smoke this year. And then I feel like,
Yeah.
it takes a while to get the hang of, touring and all that. So I'm not worried about him. He's gonna figure it out. Andrew Presnell, they have Vanessa Van Dyken, Missy Gannon. So, they have three, of the best female players in the world right now. And then they have, Adam Hammis, who's dangerous, Ezra Adderhold, Andrew Presnell. We saw quite a bit of him, Paul Macbeth, and then adding Chris Dickerson. Like, just imagine, because I imagine Chris Dickerson is very competitive. Just imagine Paul Macbeth and Chris Dickerson as teammates practicing and competing. Like that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, and
And yes, I
again,
would I would buy his discs. I would buy his signature discs. Chris Dickerson
yeah.
Discraft. Yeah.
I literally was going to buy his signature series PA3s, and then I'm glad I didn't, because then this news came out and I just would have been sad. But yeah, I love the PA3. Man, that's tough he's leaving. And again, like I said, we don't have any sources. We have no inclination. All we've done is wished Chris the best. He hasn't told us anything. This is literally just our pure guesses of what we're thinking, trying to do the math, just like you guys at home also. And so, yeah, wishing him nothing but the best. He was awesome when we had him on the show. So, yeah, if he did end up at just, gosh, if Discraft added anyone else, I also feel like Discraft, like low key, are kind of like maybe they get a Chris, or maybe they get Cat, or maybe they get, literally anyone else kind of with a bigger name. And they're like, just kind of like showing, hey, we're still here. We're still the number one brand right now. Like, come get us. Yeah, I don't know. Really interesting. So I guess kind of while we're talking about people leaving, where they could go, let's talk about the other two ladies. Let's talk about Haley King. Let's talk about Katrina Allen. Katrina Allen's been with Prodigy for, I want to say, the last like 9 years or something like that. So that was a pretty big move for Katrina Allen. And then Haley King leaving Discmania was really interesting to me, because she had signed
Discraft.
yes, sorry, Discraft. Thank you. She had signed a deal to keep her there through 2022. So she was on a deal to stay there for this season as well, getting out a year early. What are your thoughts about them getting out early? Where do you think they might end up? What are your thoughts?
You know, this, like I said, earlier, I feel like this year we're not going to see or have another, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we're going to see another exciting offseason like this one for a while. I think that there was a huge, huge dumping of money in this last year from new players and everyone, tournaments being back on, added money, so much, added bonuses to tournaments, all the huge payouts, and just so much, Bushnell coming into the game, the ESPN, how much ever money went to companies from that. There was a ton more money added this year, which gave companies bigger pockets to be able to sign people. I think that this next year, or the next couple years, I think it's going to probably not plateau, but it's going to slow down. I think this last year was kind of like Dogecoin and Sheeb. It shot up, went up, and then it's going to fall down, and it's going to have a really slow year, or it's going to just slowly continue to increase. I think disc golf will continue to increase, but I don't think it's going to be like this year. And so the fact there was more money for these companies to be able to offer players, gave them these opportunities. That's why people were comfortable and were brave to leave early, is because, they were offering them this and they're like, oh, whatever penalties you receive, like we'll pay for it. Like, I'm sure that was part of their deals. Like, they're taking care of that because these companies, like we talk about constantly, whatever wins on Sunday sells
Sells
on
on
Monday.
Monday. We should put that on a
And
shirt.
I'd get sued by NASCAR. Um,
Probably.
but I think they learned that, they figured that out, and it's about selling disc. We've also talked about how this sport, it's about merch. Other sports, you buy basketball, you're good for a while, soccer ball, cleats, whatever, you're good for a while. Disc golf, you're not buying discs because you need them or you're just getting worn out. You're buying them because you see them on the weekends. They put out constantly new discs. It's merchandise. And so these companies know that. And so if they have the better players selling the most merchandise, they're going to make more money. It's a business. Like, it's all about money. And so, hey, I'm surprised, Katrina Allen being that long with Prodigy. I feel like if we hadn't had a crazy of a year where companies got so much money, she probably would have stayed there longer. All of these people that left early, they probably would have stayed there if they hadn't been such a crazy year, because companies wouldn't have had enough money to make them leave. Because I feel like for the most part, players are very loyal to their companies. I feel like a lot of them, when they talk about they love Innova or they love Prodigy, I feel like they're very honest because it came from when disc golf was smaller and a lot of these companies didn't have a whole ton of money. So they sponsored the few players that they did sponsor, they really took a big risk on them. They really supported them as much as they could. So I feel like we saw every single player that left put out a really sincere and like friendly, like, hey, I've loved this company. There's no bad feelings, like wish them nothing but the best. And it was both ways from player and companies. So I think all these early leaves and moves and whatnot are just about money. The one that is interesting is Haley King. Just being on Reddit and just, being on Twitter and all that stuff. One thing that I saw that I could see is Haley King leaving and either taking a year off or maybe not touring. I feel like, she talked about a couple of times where she was just kind of stressed and it was just kind of overwhelming. You could see that, in some tournaments. Um, Hopefully, that's not the case. I feel like she's an amazing player. And she's a ton of fun to watch, being, what is she now, 18, 19, and competing with the top in the world. I mean, that's a lot of pressure for, a teenager. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens. I think she would also be really cool to see how like infinite discs.
Mm.
I feel like, just having an open bag, whatever that looked like. But I can't really see her going. I feel like she was a perfect fit for Discraft. So I can't really see her anywhere else. I would love if she went to Discmania. I think that would be sweet.
Yeah, like I think I would like to think that Discmania would add another big time female player. They did re-sign Ella Hansen as a I'm not sure if it's an official crush girl or if they're just calling it crush girl, or maybe I'm just thinking of that. But she does crush nonetheless. So I think she's kind of really their big FPO player right now. Someone's gonna flame me in the comments saying, no, you forgot about this person. But if they added Kat or Haley, I think that would be huge for them. Like I think that they could really use a move like that. And again, if we're using our, process of elimination, it's not going to be Innova. The likelihood that it's going to be DD is pretty small. And then that really just kind of leaves Prodigy, Discraft. I guess Andrew Marwe went to DGA, so DGA is an option. Infinite or OTB. I don't think I'm missing anyone really. So, like, if I had to guess again, I'd probably say like Haley King. I think she's Discmania or Year Off, or I'm literally just gonna list all the companies. So I guess I'm not gonna really guess a whole lot, but I don't know. I think Prodigy could add, especially losing Chris Dickerson and Cat. I think that they could stand to add somebody, and I think Discraft is a potential option for Katrina, just because. I mean, could you imagine if they had Paige and Katrina and Missy Gannon on the same team? I mean, just again, Discraft being like, we are the best. What do you want from us? So I don't know. If Discmania could sign either one of them, that would be pretty huge. I think the last really interesting one to talk about is Nico Lacastro, who in 2021, this is so weird. In 2021, he signed a 2-year extension through 2023, and then at the end of 2021 gets out of his deal. Like, what's about that? I don't know. That's weird. And I'm not gonna, I heard this on a podcast, is that, maybe he wasn't too happy at Westside. Maybe he didn't really like the plastic at Westside. So I don't exactly know where he would go. Innova, again, Innova's locked. No one's going to Innova. He's not going to Trilogy, so that leaves Prodigy. Maybe Prodigy losing Chris could go after Nico. That'd be pretty interesting. Maybe he goes to an open bag at Infinite or something like that. I don't think Discraft is on the table for Nico. I don't know. He just doesn't seem to.
I could see Nico at MVP.
Oh,
I don't
that
know
is a
why.
good shout. I could see Haley King at MVP also. I think both of them could be
Uh,
MVP.
yeah. Yeah. One thing I did see that kind of gave to the theories of Haley King taking a year off or whatever, which goes both ways. But she dropped like all of her sponsors, not just Discraft, like her back sponsors and whoever else she had. So either she's won't be playing or whoever she's going to, they want her carrying their bags, which I mean, Dynamic has their own bags, Prodigy has their own bags, Discmania has their own bags. I think so.
I think they
Maybe not.
do, but I
They're
think
always sold
most
out.
of their players use grip bags.
Grip.
Like I was thinking about this, really the only two companies that I've noticed who don't have any grip bags are DD, and I was going to say Innova, but all of a sudden I'm questioning that. Maybe Prodigy doesn't have any grip bags.
Yeah, Prodigy has their own bags.
I think every company has their own bags. I just know like a couple of them are like, no, you are going to use our bag. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen a DD player with a grip bag. That's for sure.
What one, I'm excited about Squatch bags.
Yeah, they look cool.
Those look really sweet.
Those look cool.
But yeah, I think that is all the names that we wanted to talk about. Very excited to see still Katrina Ellen where she goes. I mean, she's, one of the top in the world. So very exciting, they're leaving it for the very end. I'm sure they're still probably in negotiations or something.
Yeah.
Um,
I got a
feel
little
like,
game before we get out of here for you.
yeah,
So let's go through the companies just thinking of this offseason, right? Let's play a little game buy, sell, hold. If you're buying their stock, selling their stock, or holding their stock, let's go through the companies. Let's start with Discmania. Buy, sell, hold.
buy.
Okay. How about Prodigy? I feel like I sell.
Sell.
I feel like I
Yeah.
sell. Discraft, I think, is always a buy.
I hold. Yeah. Already had that
Yeah,
in my portfolio.
I feel like Discraft is they're like that Amazon stock that you just
That
have and it just always stays there. Innova, sell. Big sell.
Innova, I hold. I think
Okay.
Discraft and Innova would probably still like be the biggest of my portfolio. They're just
Okay.
like they're safe and like they're gonna go up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean yeah. If you sell now, you would be selling at a loss if you're thinking of the market and stuff. But I think I would sell Innova just because I think their gap of winning a world championship, I think, just got significantly smaller. So that's kind of where I'm looking at it. I think a lot of their big time players, are all kind of getting older, and yeah, I don't know. You don't see a whole lot of young up and comers being like, I'm on Inva. I want to go to Inva. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out of my butt right now. Dynamic discs, buy, sell, hold.
I would buy just because it would probably go up. It would get a
Yeah.
lot of hype. There would be a lot of FOMO, fear you're missing out because of Ricky and Kona and the big deals they did. Those sweet commercials. I'd love, just being like a cinema guy, photography guy. I loved those commercials they did. The visuals, like those were
Mm-hmm.
sweet. So good on them. And I know you've told me before. I really, really want to like dynamic discs. Like we're from Wichita, Kansas. They are out of Emporia, Kansas. Um, but I've never, I don't care. I could be from California. I want to support, I guess, local. You probably see a little bit of that local uh, money or support maybe in Emporia, but I mean, I don't see any of it here in Wichita. I feel like if anything, I see maybe more Innova.
Mm-hmm.
Tournaments and stuff that are put on, they're like by Innova. I've never seen any like dynamic stuff around town. I mean, a lot of our baskets are dynamic because that's like the only place to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure. So like a lot of our baskets and signs are dynamic.
I think they're cheaper, if not the cheapest option. That's like a
Yeah,
quality basket. And they're, air quote local. I think also some of the guys in town who run the tournaments are sponsored by Innova. So it
yeah.
makes more sense for Innova to help out in whatever capacity. But I agree that yes, it is a buy right now. This is the time to buy. And I also think it's one of those things where, we were talking about I do want to throw more dynamic discs / trilogy because they are local. So maybe that's something that I can kind of work on myself. And maybe this is a good opportunity to do so. Who knows? So okay,
But
so go
just
ahead.
Yeah, just real quick, like you're talking about they lost a huge Innova lost a huge opportunity to win world championship. I'm looking at 2021, the world championship tournament, and James Conrad won. So in the top 10, Nate Sexton came in third. So they had Nate Sexton, they had Greg Barsby came in sixth, Ricky came in seventh. Mason Ford was Innova, right? So Mason Ford, Calvin Heimberg, and Thomas Gilbert is Innova, right?
No, he was Prodigy last
He's
year. Still is.
okay.
He left Innova last year to go to Prodigy. Which,
So
shout out to Thomas Gilbert. We all support you.
so they had four players in the content, for winning world championship,
And they lost
and
two of them.
they lost Ricky and Mason Ford.
Yep.
No, so they had five.
So they lost two of them, but do we realistically think Ricky is going to finish seventh or worse in 2022?
I mean, he did in 2021.
Yes, but
that's the thing about world championship. Like, who knows?
I mean,
like,
yes, you're right. And the world championship is broke until we get an F1 style of
James
world
Conrad won. What did he do the rest of the season?
Nothing.
Like,
Jack squat.
he won a world championship though. So
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But Innova was still the biggest presence.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, they won't be this year. I don't think they will be.
We'll see. Put your money down, guys.
Yeah. Let's all bet collectively $20 in the comments.
I think that they still have 30% of the top 15.
Ooh.
As a
So
dynamic discs,
like 3 players inside the top 50. Shoot, I don't know. It's like 3 players. 15. You said how many? 30% of 15. That's got to be like
4.5.
Yeah, pretty close.
So 4.
Okay, name them off. Calvin,
Nate Sexton.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm just gonna throw him out there because I believe in him. Anthony Barella.
No, Anthony Barella. You love Anthony Barella.
That dude bombs. I don't remember how old he is, but that dude can
Anthony
throw.
Barella is ranked 30th in the world right now, which, like, no disrespect to Anthony, literally none.
And he's not even on the star team. Like, he is on the lower team of Innova. He's not even on their top team.
I mean, if you're going to say some guys, you should say Joel Freeman. Shout out to Joel for coming on the show. You're awesome. Yeah. Nate Sexton, Calvin Heimberg, and the fourth one should be, Bradley Williams.
Okay, and so let's say Ricky Wysocki doesn't have a good weekend, or for some reason let's say he doesn't have a good weekend and he doesn't play in the top 10. Where's dynamic discs?
That is a good, that's a good question. Chris Clemens could sneak in there. You could see Logan Harple sneak in there. Shout out. You could see Mason Ford sneak in there. He's 14th right now in the world. You could see Matty O sneak in there. He's trilogy. He's number 8 in the world right now. You could see Emerson Keith sneak in there. He was on the lead guard in 2019.
And what are the chances of like all 4 or 5 of them being
higher than Innova? I would say, let's make a bet right now. In the top 10 of the World Championship, there will be
more dynamic.
There will be more trilogy players than there will be.
No, you can't say trilogy. That's not fair. That's 3 companies. That's 3 versus 1.
That's the brand, though.
That's no, it's dynamic. We're talking about buying or selling dynamic.
Okay, so you're telling me I have to pick
dynamic players.
Well, I mean, my money's on Ricky for winning the world title anyways.
Next year?
Yeah. I think Ricky. Okay.
I think
you know what? I will still take that bet. They have Ricky, they have Mason, and they have Gavin. So if all 3 of those dudes stay healthy, I think more dynamic players will be inside the top 10 than Innova players.
What are we betting? It's got to be good.
$20 in a sandwich.
Oh, that's not good enough. No.
How about we not decide now? How about everyone in the comments on Instagram, whatever it is, let us know. Give us some ideas. Give us some
What's
suggestions.
what's your favorite disc?
I don't have a favorite disc.
Let me see. When is the World Championship?
It's in like August. It's in Emporia, which we need to go to that.
It's like towards the end.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in August-ish.
Um, let's see. I feel like I want to do something like you throw. Okay, we'll do this. I don't have enough. You have way more than I do.
Okay.
But for let's say 3 months or for the rest of the season after Worlds,
Okay.
if I win and there's more of Innova in the top 10,
Okay.
you have to throw only Innova for the rest of the season.
I'm screwed.
And if you win and it's dynamic, I have to throw dynamic for the rest of the season. I still have my captains and my wardens, so I'll just be a.
Does the PA3 count as an Innova disc? Because otherwise
No.
I am screwed.
No, you can have my wardens.
Well, no, I
mean,
would
my
have to throw Innova.
AVRs.
I hate AVRs. I genuinely hate AVRs. They are so
Yeah.
bad.
Here in front of our witnesses,
Oh God.
I feel like that's a good bet if you really.
I mean, yeah, whatever. And hold on. And just you and I playing, or in just
Tournaments,
chilling, or in
everything.
tournaments?
Yeah, everything.
Dang. So you're telling me any tournament in September
League
or
night,
October, league night,
everything.
I'm just gonna have to stop going to league nights, I guess.
I would much rather have a bag of Innova than a bag of
No.
Dynamic.
Okay, fine. I'll take the bet. Well, I'll take the bet.
All right.
I'll take the bet. This will be fun and exciting. I can't wait to have to spend hundreds of dollars buying Innova stuff to throw for 2 weeks.
I feel like you'll be fine. You have plenty
yeah.
of it.
It'll be fine. I'll just, instead of throwing
Anything-
Enigmas, I'll throw Wraiths.
And I mean, technically, all the stuff post Discmania leaving is Innova. So
Oh, so I could use my Enigmas anyways then.
yeah,
Is
those
all
were still
yeah,
made.
all my Enigmas are made by Innova. I don't have any
Yeah.
new ones yet. Oh, then yeah, sure, whatever. I'm chilling. I'll just throw P2s then. I'll throw old P2s.
Yeah.
Or whatever they had. See, the cheat code goes on. It's also so funny because Latitude 64 just makes everyone's discs in the first place, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, the things you learned about disc golf. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. I know it wasn't, kind of the norm for what we do, but I do think we kind of want to, for all the newer players who are kind of getting into disc golf, I know Horatio and I, when we kind of first got into disc golf, it kind of was like, hey, well, what is the pro tour? What are all these pro guys doing? So we kind of want to do our part and kind of explaining that a little bit, touching on it every now and then. We're not going to turn into a podcast where every single week we're, analyzing the latest pro tour event and all that stuff. We're not going to do that, but we will talk about it from time to time. We'll chop it up about it and kind of keep you guys informed because I think it's fun to talk about, good times. But yeah, like I said, comment down other bet ideas. Let us know, what companies are you buying, selling, holding right now? We'd be very interested to see. If you watched on YouTube, leave us a like rating. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, drop a rating or review. We really do appreciate those. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you for listening to the Chain Clankers podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chain Clankers and hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us from so you never miss another episode.